Oh, America, sweet America. You thought last Thursday night was bad. Colts, Broncos, a matchup of the washed-up boys, Matt Ryan and Russell Wilson. Yeah, it was so bad, the only way you deserve to be rewarded is getting some overtime football. Oh, boy. Yeah, but just as you think that's about as low as you can get. You turn the calendar to this week and you realize you're about to have to buckle up, bitches, for 3+ hours of Thursday night, prime time, Amazon Prime, Bears football! Oh, but wait, there's more. Not only is it 3+ hours in prime time of Bears football, it's 3+ hours of the Washington Commanders. I can't even say their damn names straight. The Commanders. Oh, how dare you say that about our team? You know what? When your team plays worth a crap, then I'll give a crap. How about that? There you go. The Commanders. Like all the names you came up with, that's the name that you landed on. I mean, might as well just call them the Snyder sexual harassers. Like, at least the name would have been more true to life, right? Like, oh, Commanders fans are raging right now in their forums that nobody visits. Commanders football, Bears football. Commander Carson is going to make you eat your words on Thursday night. You used to be such a big Carson Wentz nut hugger. What happened? Well, he started off good, and then the past few seasons, he sucked. So you don't stubbornly dig in to a previous reality. You focus on what is. And the what is that Carson Wentz is not very good. That's what happened. But anyways, yeah, we got this game on Thursday night, which is basically just a matter of at least we'll have the boredom done on a Thursday night, and we can blend it into the work week and focus on the weekend and not having to watch our teams play on Sunday. You take the victories wherever you can get them at this point. Just like the Washington Commanders probably would at this point. You know, now that the fool Matt Rule has been fired by the Carolina Panthers, you wonder who's the next head coach that could potentially bite the bullet here during the season. And Riverboat Ron is one of those candidates because he certainly is in need of a win right now, that's for sure. This Commanders team did win their first game of the year against the Jags, 28-22. You remember that late touchdown pass from Carson Wentz to Jahan Dotson. So they got off to that good start, winning their first game, but then they proceeded to lose their next 4 games, and they sit now at 1-4. A big problem for this team in those last 4 games that they lost to the Lions, the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Titans, respectively, are the really slow starts offensively. When you look at the last 4 games, Week 2 against the Lions, 0 points in the first half. Week 3 against the Eagles, 0 points in the first half. Week 4 against the Cowboys, 7 points. Last week against the Titans, 10 points. Oh, they're trending upward. That's not good. That sounds an awful lot like, wait for it, Bears football! And who's the coach? Oh, Riverboat Ron. Of course he would fucking know Bears football. And the crazy thing is if you haven't watched the games and you just look at the numbers, you're going to look at Carson Wentz's stat line and say, you know, he hasn't been that bad. And the good thing for me, well, I guess good is relative here, but even though I'll watch the Bears games on Sunday Ticket, like I'm here in the RV area, so I see the Ravens and Washington Commanders games all the time. And Carson Wentz is not good. Don't let the stats fool you. I know it's going to say, like, he's on pace for over 4,000 yards passing and over 30 touchdowns. Yeah, but the problem is he's on pace for almost 20 interceptions. His completion percentage is below average for the modern NFL quarterback. And he's on pace to be sacked over 60 times, which some of that is that crappy offensive line in front of him, and some of that is the fact that he has absolutely no pocket presence whatsoever. Combine that with a running game that's 28th in the league in rushing yards per game. And it's crazy when you think about the Commanders. Like, they're in the top 10 in the league in time of possession, yet they're only 26 in points scored. So they have the ball a long time offensively, and they don't do crap with it. Kind of a quantity versus quality conversation. They have the ball for a lot of quantity, not a lot of quality,
which you would think then makes you that your defense is going to be well rested. And the reality is their defense is barely mid. And you look at a guy like Ron Rivera, you're like, hey, if anything else, you're a defensive-minded head coach. You have experience. Like, if anything, shouldn't your defense be really good? And they're really not. And maybe you want to blame, well, Chase Young's not there. If one player out impacts you that much, then your unit's not that damn good to begin with. This really feels like a must-win game for the Commanders on a short week on the road, and especially for Riverboat Ron. As you go to 1-5, and, after he got the big move made for Carson Wentz, like, if you're 1-5, that means it didn't work out. Like, at what point in time do you cease to have any more usefulness for Washington? Like, I thought Ron was going to be a good hire for them. He hasn't been, clearly. Meanwhile, for the Bears, they're coming off of a tough loss on Sunday to the Vikings. It's crazy because they looked really bad the first quarter and a half. They were down 21-3. And then the Bears came storming back at one point in time in the fourth quarter, late even. They were up 22-21 before they ultimately coughed up the game. So now the Bears sit here at 2-3, which is about, I think, what any realistic person would have expected for them at best through the first 5 weeks of the season. Like, you knew this wasn't a good team. You knew this was a talent-deficient team. It could maybe win a couple of games early, but not looking that good. Like, you weren't going to get too crazy or carried away here. If there's a positive for the Bears right now, it certainly was that Justin Fields, I think beyond question, played his best game of the season last Sunday against the Vikings. Now, the Vikings defense stinks, and even when you talk about, well, Fields played his best game of the season, wow, compared to the first 4 games, that's really not saying a whole lot. It is progress, but let's not get too carried away with it, because what we're talking about here is progress. Is a high completion percentage, but just barely over 200 yards passing. Like, let's not get too carried away just yet. But it is a positive, so you'll take that for sure. But like a moral victory like that, as ever fleeting as it is, means very little because Justin Fields right now is still on pace for less than 2,500 yards passing on the season. That's horrendous, especially in the modern NFL. This is a team that's 5th in the league in rushing yards per game, but 31st in time of possession. So think about that. The Commanders have the ball a long time, don't do shit with it. Meanwhile, the Bears run the ball a ton, one of the best running teams in the league. It doesn't equate to anything for time of possession. And oh, guess what? Ding dong, dumb dicks. Surprise, surprise. Typical Bears football. They're butt naked last in the league in passing and 27th in points scored. Where have we heard this goddamn refrain before? Oh, and the Bears' defense is mid at best. They're the second worst unit in the league against the run. Middle of the pack in terms of points allowed. Really bad in terms of generating pressure on opposing quarterbacks, getting home, getting sacks. So this is a defense that could be had. And for the Bears, like, if you're one of those people that wants to care about wins and losses this year, which it shouldn't even matter, but say you do, like, you want the Bears, I guess, to get a win here to get to 3-3 because you feel like their next 3 games are at New England, at Dallas, and hosting Miami. Like, that could be 3 straight losses staring down the barrel. If you lose this game at home to a bad Commanders team on a short week, that doesn't really look very good for a lot of different things. And that feels right. Now, there's certainly, like, a lot of people, a lot of Bears fans I've seen, like, talking about, like, chalking this up to an easy victory. It feels like, on the one hand, yeah, maybe it should be. But then on the other hand, you're like, well, the Bears aren't a whole lot better, so let's not get too crazy here. And let's not take anything for granted, right? I mean, I'm just saying. This has the potential to be a get-right game for either one of these offenses or either one of these defenses. Like for Washington, if you're going to have Brian Robinson back, like, you need to get that running game going, and the Bears can be had on the ground. So get after it on the ground. Take the game a little bit out of Carson Wentz's hands. Meanwhile, for the Bears, this Washington team, their defense can be had. Similar approach to what you took against the Vikings. Throw it early, throw it often. That's the way this team's going to enjoy their most success. That's how you develop Justin Fields. It's not playing it close to the fast, conservative, dumb dick style and running the ball a ton. That's dumb and that doesn't work. And it's not going to work, and it's not, most importantly, going to help your fucking young quarterback. So don't do it. I saw the spread for this game. It's, basically an even money thing, and the over-under was only like 38, which surprised me a little bit. I'm like, yeah, I totally acknowledge both of these teams stink. But, these are the types of matchups that, could lead to some sloppy defensive play, which leads to some big plays on offense, like 38 points on the over-under. I know we're traumatized by watching the 12-9 overtime fiasco with the Colts and Broncos last week, but man, 38 points? Yikes. That, even for these teams, feels a little low. I think the Bears will win this one. But yeah, do I anticipate this being a really great watch? No. Maybe this will be some type of like 19-16, 19-17 type of game. Yeah, I'm thinking that kind of ugly. Biggest thing though, again, is Justin Fields is in a spot here where, coming off of building some confidence in last week's Minnesota game, he really needs to come out in the primetime spotlight. He needs to play well. If he doesn't, like, Bears fans should be a little concerned, as this matchup points to him being able to have a good game. He needs to have a good game. And if he does, it probably comes with a win. And even if it doesn't, well, fuck it. At least Justin Fields played well, and for a second consecutive week, you have something pointing upwards in terms of his trajectory. That's all that matters here. But if they try to sit there and play it close to the vest and they try to run the ball, then it's just going to be Bears football for all. And all of you that voluntarily joined in to watch it on Thursday night deserve all the suffering you're going to receive.